All right, hello everybody. Today we are here at my elevator parts collection, my own little mini elevator museum. And today is Tuesday, May 21st, 2019. I have had a lot of people ask me to do an updated parts tour. Don't remember exactly when the last one was. It was a while ago. So anyway, let's go ahead and get right on into this. And before I get started, I need to give a huge shout out to the fine and dandy diesel doozier Andrew, because without him, basically none of this parts collection would exist. Andrew's given me so much stuff to work on and stuff to keep in my little museum here. I've also got a few other people that have donated some stuff. I will give you guys a shout out as we get to the parts you've given me. But Andrew, huge thanks to you for all the support and everything you've done for my channel. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on and get started with this. So we'll just take a little overview of everything from right here. You can see it is about 90% elevator, 10% closet. So, but it looks pretty awesome right here. And we've got a large variety of buttons on the floor. These are all parts that have come from the elevator museum. These are Andrew's parts that I have wired up for him. So we won't be touring these parts, but these will be on display in the elevator museum shortly, because in about a week, Andrew will be taking all of these parts back to the museum, and some more will be left here to be worked on. So another thing I should point out is I showed this stuff in the last elevator parts. There's a lot of various elevator merchandise, such as t-shirts, hats, backpacks, stuff like that from ThyssenKrupp Elevator, Minnesota Elevator. So huge thanks to the elevator companies for all the cool merch. So here first we have the circuit boards and such, various boards from different things. Got buttons, chimes, relays, just various different circuit boards. Over here we've just got a bunch of random stuff. I've got a cowbell thing I built right here. And if you plug it in and press the button, it rings. Got a few extra parts and stuff here. This is kind of the messy part of the collection. So here's a cool Otis pin from Justin. He's another contributor to parts in this collection. So huge thank you, Justin, for all the stuff you've donated to my little collection. So up here in this corner, we've got a little stack of different things. So up here, we've got a Faraday fire alarm and a phone. And this phone doesn't actually have the guts to it, but it has the little button that Justin gave me. There's the fire alarm, it does work. You can take the glass out and pull down, and I made this little key for it. Here we've got a little roller from elevator. So here we have the 4 elevator bells. This is a little contraption that I built. So it's pretty much just some pieces of 2x4, some custom 3D printed brackets, some small motors, and these little hammers. And then over here on the little control panel, we have these 4 buttons which ring the bells. So the first bell we have is the Adams bell. Next we have the Houghton bell. Next is the Otis bell. And finally, we have the Westinghouse dinner bell. So I'm pretty proud of this little bell board. I'm definitely going to add more as I get more bells. But the whole kind of idea behind it, this one already had the plunger, the little solenoid, and it runs on 9 volts, where these other ones had higher voltage solenoids. And I wanted it all to be on a low voltage. So I built this little contraption. It looks pretty cool. All right, so now we get started up here with the elevator buttons. So we'll look at these little items first. This here is a Dover DMC selector, the ThyssenKrupp Elevator from Minneapolis gave to me. Here we have a Montgomery elevator relay from none other than the one and only Montgomery elevator freak, also known as Justin. He loves Montgomery elevators, but he gave me this little Montgomery relay, which is pretty cool. Here we have a CJ Anderson call button that Tom from CJ Anderson made and sent to me. So another person, Tom from CJ Anderson, huge thank you for all the stuff that you've given me. He gave me this call button, an awesome t-shirt, and a few screwdrivers and a couple other CJ Anderson items. Really appreciate it, and it's really awesome. Here we have this really epic plate. This was from Andrew. This was one of the first parts he gave me. It's this really awesome vintage Otis plate, and it actually has these little springy buttons in it. Here we have one of the directional indicators from the 707 building in Roanoke. This is from before it was modded, and we've got these 2 buttons, lantern up, lantern down, that you can press to make them light up. It looks pretty cool. Up here is a little custom thing that I built. So this is a piece of salt from the salt mine that Andrew and I went to in Kansas, and I put this little light behind it, and you can turn it on with the little switch that says salt. It's got this custom little board from an actual old GAL elevator part, and then the wires go through the metal and down to the switch. And it looks kind of cool. So here we have 2 Schindler HT elevator buttons. We first got this kind of silver one here. and it lights up red when you press it. And if you insert the fire service, it turns on the light. Here's the second one, kind of the black style. This one lights up green, and when you turn in the fire service, this one lights up the little fire service light on the little ring. So here we have a little dumbwaiter panel, which this was kind of a joined donation from both Justin and Andrew. So huge thank you to both of you guys. And there's like a little speaker thing, which really isn't a speaker. I'm not really sure what that's for. So next here we have this cool Otis call button here. This also was one of the first pieces Andrew gave me. And I forget where he said where this came from. So right now I have it set up where the little fire service key, if you turn it off, it doesn't actually light up. But when you turn it on, it turns it on, which is kind of neat. Here we have an Otis Touch, but it has Adam's replacement buttons in it, unfortunately. But it's still pretty cool. You can see it lights up white when I press it. Here we have two Otis Lexington buttons. We've got this terminal one, which lights up blue, and then this one, which lights up green and red. Up here, I have a custom-made STL elevator call button that I 3D printed. It's got a little micro switch in it. And here we have one of the call buttons from the Church Avenue garage in Roanoke. This came from the bank of two that was modernized. You can see when you press the buttons, they light up. Here we have a very unique elevator button. This came from Justin, and this is actually a Electrodyne elevator button, and it's really weird. I did a video breaking this thing down if anyone's interested, but if you don't even press the button, so you just put force on the button and it lights up. There's no click, there's no press, it's just kind of you press in on it and it works. Here we have a really sweet Baxter & Sons COP. This is another one of the first pieces Andrew gave me. But you press the buttons and they light up. And this one lights up really dim. Probably gonna rewire this at some point, but for now it does that. And then I also have it set up where the key switch up here, the fan and light, turns on the buttons. Next we have this pretty awesome looking Otis black button dumbwaiter panel. I don't think I've ever seen one of these in person, except for this one of course. But I have it set up when you press the buttons, it simply lights up the in-use light, which is pretty cool. Here we have a kind of a surprise piece. Andrew was saying, I have a surprise for you. And when he brought this thing out, I was really shocked because this is a pretty special piece. Alderson Elevator Company, and has these old GAL buttons. And I've also got it hooked up where you turn this little key and the car B light comes on. So just want to give a little special thank you to Andrew for this one because I was not expecting this at all, and this was a total surprise to me. This next panel here, this is where Tom, you get another shout out because you beautifully restored this old Speedle elevator panel. And he also restored one for Andrew, but Andrew bought these two off eBay and sent them to Tom to have them restored. So Andrew, thank you to you for actually getting the panel, but a huge thank you to Tom for the restoration of this thing because we got new switches. The buttons are still original, but they've been cleaned up. And the plate has been beautifully restored. So Tom, great job on the restoration. This is what I hope to do someday. Next over here, we have a Dominion call button, old GAL from the 707 building in Roanoke. Did not have a box with it, so I made my own out of wood. And it works pretty well and it looks awesome. Next over here, we have a PTL fire service panel. We've got the three buttons right here, the little fire light. And if we take the key and put it in here, enter it to the on position, little fire hat turns on. Next we have a Westinghouse vandal resistant call button from the Cathedral of Learning building, I believe in Pittsburgh. This thing's pretty awesome. It's not wired up yet to do anything. I'm gonna have to 3D print something to hold an LED back there, but that'll eventually light up service only and it'll look really awesome. Next we have this awesome CJ Anderson call button that was donated to me by Chris from St. Joseph. He gave me one of these call buttons, and Andrew has the car panel and some of the other buttons. Next over here we have a Houghton L series call button, which was donated. It was actually kind of an interesting passing along. It was originally given to Justin from Sam, and then Sam ended up giving Justin another button, and Justin gave this one to me. So both Sam and Justin were contributing to this. I stored it up and wired it up. It looks pretty nice. Next we have this Adams call button. Now this button was given to me by Sam. So huge thank you to Sam. He was another person that has given me some really sweet stuff for this little collection. This is a shoe button from Macy's, in downtown Chicago. And he gave me this little plate, but I put this button in here because I think the shoe button's a lot cooler than an arrow. Next over here, we have 2 vintage Westinghouse buttons, both from Andrew. This here is an old black button one, which is pretty sweet. And we've got a triangle one, which needs help with the red. You can see it doesn't light up very nicely, but the green lights up very bright. Over here, we've got an eBay item. This is a Adams, kind of a fancy Adams call button. Nothing super exciting, but I definitely think that plate is the most exciting part of this panel. Over here, we've got a to be used in case of fire button from Justin. Now, this is what you see in California. Here we have an innovation sales sample that was given to me by Midwest Elevator. So Midwest Elevator, thank you for the few items that you did give to me. And also, you guys gave Andrew a pretty sweet car panel, so huge thanks to that. Down here, we've got a Dover car top station here from Andrew. Pretty awesome. It's got that nice beefy switch on there. We got these cool buttons. And it actually opens up if you turn these little things. Here we have a whole bunch of various elevator plates. These have come from eBay, from Sam, from Andrew, from Justin. They've come from all sorts of places. So I'll just pan the camera and you can see them all. All right, moving up here to the next shelf. Here we have some of the international parts along with this little escalator switch. These international parts were given to me by Andrew, and this little part over here was from Justin. This is an escalator switch, which I've kind of rigged back together, which I'll show you here in a bit. So this first Schindler button here is pretty awesome. It has this little button on the side, lights up in the middle, and it says Schindler Switzerland. So in the middle, it's kind of a white button, but when you press it, you see it has a little LED in there. Looks pretty cool. And over here we have a Schindler R Series button, which lights up. And then over here we have the escalator stop switch, which this thing was missing a bunch of parts, so I added this innovation key switch on the back and 3D printed a little adapter. And then I just kind of rigged the stop button in here, which this is not how it's supposed to be, but it is what it is. All right, so up here on this upper shelf, we first have a bunch of various elevator buttons. So we've got EPCO, another EPCO. We've got a touch tube from Sam, Dover Impulse, Adams Fire Service. I just put a button base on instead of a little lamp base. Door close button, GAL. The Adams, the original arrow from the shoe button. We got the stop switch from Sam, and a little Schindler van. Up here we have this ICO plate. It's a GAL plate from Justin, and it was just the plate. It didn't have the button. I didn't have any extra buttons. So what I did is I put on this key switch, and when you turn it, you can see it lights up a little light. Here we have a Dover traditional call button. This was an eBay item. I think there's actually still a bunch of these still around on eBay. It's got this interesting arrow, and when you press it, it lights up. Here we have a more typical Dover traditional button, but this one has LEDs behind it. Here we have the Dover Impulse. So this one rings a bell, and this one just lights up. The buttons were from Andrew, and the little chime that's hiding behind there, that was from Justin. Here we have a little simplex fire alarm test panel. This I just kind of threw here because it fit, but I've got it wired up where you turn the little key and it lights up the little alarm light. Here we have a little braille and a little sign. Moving over to this side, we've got a few more pretty awesome buttons. Here we have a little black button GAL given to me by Andrew. Here we have a hot and triangle button, which was kind of the same thing as the hot and L series. It was given to Justin originally. It was kind of broken, missing some parts. Sam got another one, gave it to Justin. Justin gave me this one, which I kind of restored up. Made my own part for it. It's not the best, but it works, and it looks pretty nice. Over here, we have Schindler MT. This was an eBay item, and I wired it up so they light up. Over here, we have this pretty sweet General Elevator Company call button. Has these buttons I've never seen in person before. This was another one from Andrew. He has another one as well, but this one's pretty sweet. Back over here, we have a vector button. Now this was given to me by Andrew, and it was just a bag of parts. And he said, if you can fix it up and make it work, it's all yours. And I'm like, challenge accepted. So we've got a working Montgomery vector button here. The green color is not exactly like it is in person, but it still lights up green and it still works and it still looks awesome. Over here on the side, we have this little kind of golden brass color EPCO Halo line button from Andrew, which looks pretty cool. And this is a US square button that Justin gave to me and I restored up. And moving on to the very top shelf, up here on the left, We first have a custom button that I made, an STL Elevators Armor VR. Unfortunately, it fell off and it broke, so there it is. It's just kind of sitting there right now. Here we've got a couple emergency, in case of fire, don't use the elevator signs. Here we have the big panel for that little one. This is the big version of the Epco Halo line. Over here we have this button which used to have this little Epco button in here, but Sam gave me this armor button and I was like, armor is, I have already got Epco. I'd rather see armor. So I wired it up with a nice little white LED. And we have an armor button, which is actually my only armor button. Here we have an Otis Series 1 call button that Sam gave to me. And you can hear it has clicky buttons on the back, and that's because I added my own little custom 3D printed circuit boards, because this circuit board right here is a pain in the butt to work with. Over here we have a few lanterns and such, directional indicators, various things. We got a fire alarm over there. Got a few logos up there, Midwest Elevator, giant Westinghouse logo from Sam, and then a little fire return switch over there. And finally up here on the top we have the US digital indicator, which I've built this little interesting controller for. So I turn the light off so you can see a little bit better. You press the arrows and you can see those light up. And then when you press the little power button in the middle and turn this little knob, you can see it lights up the different numbers. Just like that. And just a little surprise, a little secret coming along here. This may be getting an upgrade sometime soon. Not gonna really say what I'm gonna do to it, but expect a video about it in the future. And finally, we cannot forget this US indicator. This is the analog indicator. This came from the Elmwood parking garage in Roanoke, given to me by Andrew. Wired it up so it lights up. This is not on the actual display. It's on the top of my bookshelf, because why not? So anyway, that pretty much concludes the parts tour. I mean, it's grown a lot since the last video, but you guys have really wanted to see this. So there it is. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys later.